Cool. All right, we are live now. All right. We are now live. All right, so let's briefly talk about what we've been trying to do. We're trying to develop an annotation extension. Sounds really fancy, but all it is the problem that we're trying to solve is pipeline runs. They're easy to make. They're easy to get working. They're hard to maintain when you have a large organization. That's the problem, right? So let's say, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and let's start it from scratch. Let's actually deploy this thing first. I need to deploy it because I had an issue with deployment last time. All right, while that deploys, I'll show you the code. All right. All right, the extension is ADO reporting. So we have various files here. I don't know why it's saying it's red. It's not really red. You know what? I'll just restart my thing here. All right, let's see if I can figure out how to do chat at the same time. I'm pretty sure I wasn't to join because this is my first live. We'll see how this goes. But anyway, so we have the extension, the main extension starts here. And we have various pieces of it. We have the environment logger post decorator that needs to be renamed. I need to delete these dev ones because I wasn't trying to make a dev version. There we go. So I have pre-injectors and post-injectors. So essentially when the pipeline first runs, it will inject this task in the beginning of the pipeline and it will inject this one at the end. Let me see if it's deployed. Yeah, it's gone. All right, and so what exactly is happening is we need a way to easily annotate what a job is doing or what a group of tasks are doing. You can kind of tell from naming and from environments and stuff, but it could easily be it could easily get out of hand especially the larger the organization gets. I saw this happen with 2 organizations beforehand where it's a large company. They have various workflows going, various projects, and the various projects are starting to implement different standards, different patterns, and so things start to move away from any particular standard, right? So how do you enforce standards, but at the same time leave enough room for projects to innovate? So the first step is to enforce some type of monitoring of what the standards are currently in place, right? But at the same time, allow for flexibility. So the one company that I was consulting for had a problem where they had all these projects going and they needed to know the frequency of certain KPIs, like the frequency that we deployed to production, what components are failing consistently in production, um, what teams, how the actual KPIs of our quality gates, like code quality gates, um, if there's actual quality gates in place for certain components, just a variety of KPIs. So I was tasked on doing that, and we were able to actually extrapolate all those KPIs, using various API calls in Azure DevOps, because you can basically get anything. You can get what builds were done, if those builds were ran quality gate information. You can even use OData APIs as DevOps. And so we were able to get all of that stuff, right? Like how often are we deploying to environments? How often are we failing? And then for the different quality gates, let's say for SonarQube, what are the SonarQube values? I mean, all that stuff. It's a bunch of stuff. Now, the difficulty that we ran into was, how do you now, given all of that, how do you then translate that into, map that to dimensions? So you have, when it comes to monitoring, there's two main components, right? There's the dimensions of your metrics, and then there's your actual metrics, your KPIs, right? And KPIs. Yeah, I'm wondering now. I'm not saying it. What does it even mean? KPIs. See, there's something performance indicators. Let's make sure I know what I'm talking about here. Let's see. KPI. Yeah. Oh yeah. Key performance indicator. So these are KPIs. Really are just calculated metrics that help the business know how well they're performing, right? So for Azure DevOps and any type of development organization, your main performance indicators are gonna be in the DevOps space. How often are we completing tasks? How often are we deploying to production? How often are we failing? How often are we having incidents? I mean, all that stuff. So the mapping between your KPIs and your dimensions are the most important, right? Like if you, for example, if you say, let's say our failing rate is a good KPI. Well, if you say our failing rate is 50% across the entire organization, that doesn't really help the business know what's going on, right? What are the reasonings? It could be bad data. I mean, there's a lot of debug pipelines happening. What are the critical pipelines? We don't know a lot, right? So it's important to extrapolate those dimensions. So whenever we first started getting into that problem, it became a very hard problem to solve, because every project was defining their pipelines differently, right? Like you had some projects doing a classic YAML pipeline where you have the build phase, the with the unit testing phase, along with the integration phase, and then you have the deployments. So you kind of I was able to map those scenarios into the different dimensions, but then you had situations where there was some projects where they had the environment being deployed was dependent upon a pipeline variable or a template variable. So the only way you would know if it's deploying to a particular environment was the name of the release. And that was a very, very unique situation. So a solution for this is to enforce the need to properly tell or record or annotate what a job is doing, right? And so then from there you can, there's no questioning what the dimension is. For example, if I have a pipeline that has a build, a test, and a deploy phase, I literally have to say, this is the build, this is the test, and this is the deploy phase for this environment, right? And this environment for this component, right? So it's it allows for better granular dimensionality, I guess. Well, it just got deployed. Now, with that said, now that also brings up another question. So now that you have that, now you need to be able to control these. What are the dimensions that you should be allowing, right? So let's see here. Let's see if this comes up. There we go. All right, so we have all of these different, like, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna break it because there's a bug right now. This is like the initial, it's just like if it was initially installed for an organization. So you have the default annotations, right? But they're not really right. Like look at the regex. I mean, that's right, but it's not right. Like those slashes are supposed to be assumed. So the bug is if I add like a title here, it will actually remove everything. So that's fine. I mean, it's fine. I need to do it like this anyway, so you can see. So let's say we want to, let's say we want we need to know what app is being deployed. All right. So let's say the app name. We need to make sure there's a rule for it. It can have. It needs to be all lowercase. Maybe we allow for some slashes. You can have some numbers, but you have to have at least a letter in the beginning. Yeah. And there we go. So that basically says A through Z first, and then you can have any permutation of those letters afterwards, or you can have none of them. So it can be one letter app, whatever. So this is like example would be a BC 0 or A underscore B or A app 01. Yeah, those are good examples. Okay, so that would be one annotation that we need. This is the name of the application, right? All right, so now let's add another one. Let's say we need to know the activity. Like, what are you doing, right? Activity type, yeah. Okay. So, okay, yeah. All right, so for the activity type, it's, you kind of want to control that, right? Like you don't want that to be all over the place. So the export allowed values, and let's say the only things that we really can do is we can build. We can deploy. We can test. We can maybe it's the utility is more for utility. Utility. Right? Okay. And let's say yeah, that's good. And let's say we want to have a component. No, that's not component. Let's just say activity type, and then we'll say environment as well. Let's say environment. ENV is a good name. So obviously, you can't have an environment when the activity type is of type build, right? So that's where you go into the inclusion rules. And we're going to add, so only include environment if the activity type is of type deploy, right? And yeah. So now environment is needed if your activity type is deploy. All right. I think that's a pretty good. Well, let's add one layer of stuff. Let's say we were saying deployment type. So this is deployment type. And what type of a deployments do we have? We should have it's a code deployment. It's a infrastructure or infra deployment or provisioning. That's a better word for it. Yeah, all right, then we have a config. We also, what other ways of you can be deploying let's just go for that. There's a bunch of other stuff, but let's go for that. Right. And so yeah. And this one is kind of needed. Right. If I'm a business owner, I want to know if we're deploying, I want to know the types of things we're deploying. Right. But it's not really required. Right. And then also we should only include this if the activity type is of type deploy. Again, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Let's add one more. So we have app activity type, environment, component type. Let's have test. Yeah, this is a really pretty good one. Test type. All right, so what type of test type you have? You have unit. You have integration. Integration. You have performance. Right? You have automated user acceptance testing. So automated user acceptance or just automated UI tests. Right. You have also there's a bunch of them, security or penetration. Penetration. All right. And so now what's interesting is that environment is actually needed for some of these, right? Like for example, integration testing. No, and anything that's not unit needs. I don't even know if I spelled penetration right. Penetration. I spelled it right. All right, cool. All right, so let's say environment, we have to add another inclusion rule. We have to include it if we have a test type of automated um, performance penetration or what was the other one? Integrations. There we go. Right. So the environment is, we need to know what environment is being, you have automated tests. You don't need it for unit testing, right? But so that's essentially what it looks like. Now, what else? Something else that I need to know at all times is I need to know the version. Right. So, and the version, there is a specific format, and this, let's look for it. This is command. Well, we already know what the version format is. So for version, we need to have an allowed format. So you have that, and then you have the, let's just go with that. I don't want to, this is just basic semantic versioning without pre-release label. And we can add the other one, but that's for right now, that's fine. That's really important to have all the time. All right, so we got our little thing. So now this is for the organization setting. So if we go to organization settings, we just added the annotations configuration for the organization. Right? I don't know why that would not be secure. Why not? It makes no sense. Okay. All right. And so now let's go to the project. And let's say we have multiple, there's like multiple projects, right? And if I go to pipeline annotations, notice that it's like the same view. Right? Except I can't edit certain things, right? Can't edit anything really, because these are organization settings, right? These are things that are set by my organization, right? So if I'm part of an organization and I have my project, you'll see that, oh well, these are the things that need to be there. Now, what does it mean to be there though, right? So let's see if this works, because last time it didn't work. Let's do it with this. Let's say I have a pipeline, right? And let's say this pipeline has a stage, a build stage. Let's remove all of the. Yeah, let's remove all of this, because I want to show what it's like without it. So I'll have a stage build, which has a bunch of jobs, and each one is building all of these different apps, right? Building this app, building that app, building that app. And then we have a bunch of environments. So we have environments that go through each of those different apps and are deploying each of those apps, right? Deploying app that to environment that, right? So if let me save this. And so if I save it, it's going to run, obviously. All right, so this is what the pipeline would look like. I have all these different things. This is what I would call a very classic pipeline. Where you have the build phase and then there's also, you can have like the builds be consumed from other pipelines. You could have, there's a lot of different configurations that you can do this. And that's why we have this, right? And notice that we're starting to see now errors, right? Failure due to the following reasons. App is required in reporting. Activity type is required as well, right? So those things are required, and then you go, oh, okay, well, what do I do now, right? Is this gonna be doing retries? It's doing retries. All right, cool. That's fine. All right, so that what we do is we go to annotations, and then we say, well, I need to figure out how to put it in the pipeline run. It'll make things much easier. But anyway, let's go to validate. So here we're gonna actually, it tells you errors and stuff. So let's say I have an app one, and then activity type. Let's say it's a build. See now, why did I add test type? It shouldn't have test type, right? So if I go to, I need to fix that actually, because obviously we're not testing, and I don't think we added an inclusion rule for the test type one. Yeah, we didn't. Let's add only if the activity type is of type test. All right. Let's see. Let's try it again. Yeah. So now if I say build, it just shows that. If I say test, then test type comes in. If I say deploy type comes in. And notice that it's a warning. This is not an error, it's a warning because it's expected but is missing. See test, deploy should have showed the environment. All right, let's see. Environment, let's see, activity type of deploy. Environment, activity type of deploy. All right, we'll see. See that didn't work. Something's wrong with the inclusion rule. So test type. All right. So it looks like, yeah, I did something wrong here. Let's see. Let's see if it, oh goodness, it's gonna. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, the inclusion rules, I don't think I have it to where there's any oring. It's if all of them are true, then it includes it. So it's waiting for it to say deploy and test. Yeah. Yeah, it's not gonna do it right. Damn. Okay. So let's go to organization settings. I wonder if I could do a patch real quick. It's annoying. All right, let me see. Now I gotta go and manually patch this JSON because I did it wrong. I think I should add a thing in there so that I don't have to patch it manually. All right, so this thing. All right, so I wonder if I could just do a patch. If I just do that, what happens? Okay, do I need to, I just need to put API version? You just need any API call real quick. Let's see. Oh, so it has to match. Okay. Okay, so that's how you do it. So then what is this? Yeah, 17. Okay. So I need to fix this thing. Um, environment. That thing. There we go. There we go. I just patched it myself. All right, let's see. So now if I go to environment, so now there's one. Okay, good. So I need to fix that. I need to fix it to where it, it doesn't, it is able to do like ORs essentially. All right, so let's go back. So let's do validation again. If I do deploy, there we go. Now environment shows up. Okay. So let's say I just do build app name. I need the version 1.0.0. There we go. So once you get no errors, you can click on usage, and then it shows you, oh, you need to add the following to your YAML pipeline. If you're using, you can do it either using variables, you can use it using tasks. This needs to be updated because it's not like that anymore. Or you could do classic variables where you could just add these variables to your pipeline, or you can do the classic using tasks. I'm going to do this one. All right, so let's go back to our pipeline. Notice this thing is going to be failing everywhere. All right, so it's saying that we need these variables. So now that we know that's how it works, right? And you know what variables you really need. And also, if you don't know, then you can look at the validation. You can start adding things, right? So I do know that the version is that. Well, actually, let's do this. Let's do this right? Let's say oh goodness, I forgot the name stuff. This one, right? And then build number. Build number, and then inside of the stage of build, we have the activity type of build. And then inside of the job of the app, we have the app name as the app, right? And then the same goes for the stage, or the deployment stage. So we have activity type of deploy. And we also have deployment type is code. We also have our, yeah. And then we also have the environment, which is environment name, right? And then we have inside the deployment of the app, we have again app, right? So it's nice to like if you have a structure of your pipeline already, it's really easy to then annotate it correctly. So yeah, so let's save that. So now let's let it run. Oh goodness, it's gonna be wrong. Oh, I said dot version like this. There we go. Let's cancel this one. Cancel this one. There we go. Let's look at this one. No, this one's going to be running like crazy. Wait, how is this one successful? I don't know. I don't believe it. No, it's because I didn't remove the variables. So this one should be proper. Yeah, activity enabled. Yep. It should have warnings though. No, it doesn't have warnings. Okay. Oh well. Let's see. That's the old one. All right, so now we're getting clean runs, and it's pretty fast. And I'll show why it wasn't fast when it was failing. Oh, okay. That may be a problem. Anyway, so it's going, right? So now if we go to dashboards, I already made a dashboard for it. Hopefully it works here. I have 0 runs. Why do I have 0 runs? Okay, so I'll show how this is working. Maybe it'll help find what's going on. All right, so we should be going to that. That's the reason. Yeah, that's the reason. So yeah, let me just quickly fix it and then I'll discuss what's going on. All right. So the way that this works is it will dump the entirety of like all the runs. So this is actually something that I'm speculating if it would work or not. Right. So if we go back to my Postman, it's going to dump all of the um, into the data, into the task, what's it called, task storage. Now it's saying that it doesn't exist, and that's what I think is a problem. So this is where it's going to dump it in. These are all the different runs and the annotations that it gathered. And this particular one, version 2, I used to use, but as you can see from the code base, I went to version 3, right? And so, but I don't see version 3 at all. There's no version 3 data. And then also I've noticed there's a warning saying that version 2 can't find it. And this is because something else happened. And so I think what's going on is when I made that change, I didn't increment the version of the task itself. This is a problem with these. I need to add some more logic into my build, because if you upgrade the extension and the version of the task is not upgraded yet, it won't actually update the task, right? So I just incremented the patch. I need to make it to where it updates automatically. And we can do that. We have it all inside of this compiler thing. So you know what? It wouldn't hurt to just do it. All right, let's just add it in. Let's just add it in, right? So we're going to read the task.json. All right, so I want you guys to see how crazy it's going to be. Ready? So increment patch version in the task.json file. Okay. Look at that. That, my friends, is Copilot. That's Copilot. It just did all that. It's wrong, but it's like, isn't that amazing? All right, so there's a couple of problems with this. So first of all, it's not just version, it's version patch. So this is just the patch. And then look at this already. Look at that. And all we got to do is actually just do this. This is equal to this plus, look at that. Copilot is amazing. Like that. No, it'll do that next time. That's easy. Okay. All right, so we gotta get that fixed. So I want to show the final final product before we do anything like any real development. Because there's a lot of things wrong with the extension. A lot of things I need to add, and I'm kind of stuck on like where I should go with it, honestly. So I feel like it's very powerful now, but some of the limitations that I feel may be the issue, like the issue is the extensions data store. I don't know how well that's going to scale, because they don't have any queryable like endpoints. So the only thing that we could do is expose like the configuration of what storage to use. Yeah, we could do that. You know what I mean? So that way, it's queryable. Like query all of the, all of the endpoint, all of the runs where this annotation is so and so, right? Because right now what it's doing, it's just bringing in all the runs. It's downloading all of them, and then it does querying like through JavaScript. And that will work, but that will have a limitation. Eventually things will start to get very slow. Yeah, that has to be fixed. All right, so that's finished. All right, so let's go back. All right, so right now it's running 14. We need it to run 15. And you could ask like, but Hector, what are you doing? They have environments, pipeline environments that have gating and all these things. And yes, you're right. If any organization out there had the option of just completely using the right thing for all of their projects, trust me, they'll do it, right? But there's certain scenarios where organizations are moving towards a more like moving towards better approaches, and just completely replacing all projects is just not an option. There's too many dependencies, not just technical dependencies, but you have process dependencies, product dependencies, infrastructure dependencies. Just the amount of effort is just enormous. And because of that, because it's so enormous, because you could say, well, the organization needs to prioritize that. Well, yeah, sure. But if you start to then push for an initiative that has a very large impact on the organization's ability to develop a product, then you will have a lot more motivation from the people that are against it to shut it down, right? And so you won't have that much of leverage to actually move this type of innovation forward, right? So the way that you approach it is you find an easy way to make a small step toward the right direction, but then have a greater impact long run, right? So having this annotation provides visibility in the organization's process, and visibility goes a long way. If you can show reports to leadership on the way that the organization is performing, then you're off to a great start. All right, so there we go. We got 15. So now we got 15. I'm pretty sure this is communicating to the right thing. So let's go to dashboards. And now we should start to see stuff. All right. So we have right now, this is where the last bit of work was done. This is showing like what you can do. Like you can get the duration. You say right now it's row is version, but they say row is app, right? So if you can do app and it gets all of the apps and shows the duration average for each environment, or you can show the average for the activity types, right? Like for build and deploy, right? How long we're building, how long we're deploying, right? It's a very, very rudimentary like thing. Velocity, these are the KPIs. So you can already start to see where we're going, right? These are your dimensions, and this is your KPI, right? Your KPI can be the same, and your dimensions can start to change. You can say, well, environment and app. Yeah, that's a good one. Environment app. So then we have one deployment daily for each app for each environment. So that's a pretty good. We don't have ordering here yet. We don't have like this is not even a good graph, right? But you get the idea. All right, so that's where we are. And I'm pretty happy with how the code is. Well, somewhat happy, but at least how it's building and deploying. Oh, so here we go. We got. Oh, what is this? I don't know. Oh, I don't know what that was. Okay, cool. And what's really cool is you can start to maybe even make a graph of each version of code and where it lives in the life cycle, much like this, right? And you can say, well, Hector, you don't need that graph. You have it right here, right? You have the version and then you have all your environments. That's true. But by using the annotations, see, like, okay, here's a great example. Okay, yes, we have this pipeline that you have this beautiful like environment and the version, right? And I'm going to show an example of a second pipeline that is not so intuitive. All right, so let me edit this. So this one's basically the same exact thing. You have apps and you have environments, except this does it. So you have your build, the builds, and then it's building all the apps in one job, right? So it's just a list of steps and just doing all of them. So this is showing you how to annotate tasks themselves. So I'm saying start annotating for this app and then end annotation for this app, right? And then environments are in separate stages, so that's still good, right? We want to make sure we save it. We want to do the whole name. I think that's right. Yeah, and then version. I think that's right. Okay. And then here we do the same thing, environment, the app, right? So this is a good example of a second scenario that I've seen. Okay. All right, let's rename these things. So this is This is scenario 2, and this is when apps in one job. This one's scenario 1. Classic structure. All right. Now you have a second scenario. Oh, I kind of want to make this into a template. No, I can't. I can't make it into a template because each template is different. So it doesn't make sense to do that. All right, so let's do another one. All right, so this is scenario 3. And this is when they're just building and deploying like straight, like no jobs or anything, right? So let's say it's a smaller project, so they're just doing this little bit, right? Where they're not even leveraging environments, right? I forget the whole stages and all that. You know, and in the end, they're just going to production. They're going straight to production. Not forget production. They're just going to all environments. So they're just straight tasks, right? Where they're just completely blasting through. And so now this one is kind of interesting because now how do you even know what's going on, right? And so that's where you can advise them using the usage, do it properly, and say, okay, so when you're built, so let's say that's usually when they do it like this, what I've seen at least, they have like really good comments, right? And they're like, this is the build. And they're like, oh yeah, we got a really good structure. And yeah, you kind of do, but not really, because you're not leveraging a lot of the deploy. And they got it all this stuff, and they're commenting, right? Really good. And so now you're like, okay, well now you have to figure out how to then have them annotate properly. And so now you have to say, well, you would essentially, what would happen is you would have like a dashboard and show, oh look, it looks like the scenario 3 is reporting no pipeline runs, right? And then that's where, and also their pipelines have warnings, and they're gonna know their pipeline isn't working because they're gonna get errors and showing, well, it's still gonna work, but they'll get errors and things like that they need to annotate their pipelines. And so they could easily just say the whole thing is a build, right? But then it'll show that their app is not building, right? And so it's a very good way of like getting transparency. So they're like, oh well, no, we are deploying. We're deploying all environments. Oh well, then you need to annotate properly. Okay, well, how do I do that? All right, well then that's where you go to validation and you figure out what variables you need, and now we're here, right? And so here, let's say they don't have any of this. Ignore the enabled as true. I put that in because we needed a way to disable it. Anyway, assume that's not there. So let's say this, we say, oh, this is going to be activity type build version. I'm going to just keep the same build number. Right. And then I'm going to say stop. Cool. That I just annotated the builds for all apps. And now we're going to do this one, activity type deploy. Deploy type is code, and this is environment is, oh, I'm not looping through environment, am I? Whoops. I need to loop through the environments. There we go. Now we have environments. Environments. And then obviously for them, they're not going to have this looping thing. They're probably going to have like deploy dev, deploy stage, right? And so they can still annotate, right? They can still put right here dev and all that stuff. And so they say they stop. All right. Now we save that. So this one is scenario 3, getting started. Right, like usually people that are getting started and they just get stuck in that rut, right, of one gigantic pipeline. There you go. So they have one job, right? One job, one stage, and they're just hammering. And they just do all of it. Look at that. But it's there. Right? But even with all 3 scenarios, see, like I won't have any visibility on what environment is deploying for all 3 scenarios. I also don't have any true visibility on which ones are running from runs. All right, like look at this one. I don't even know what's going on that one. Right? It's just one little dot. So how do I know what it's doing? So that's where having this truly report what is happening using the annotations. Now we know exactly, like, let me show status. This is going to be out of whack, but oh well. See, now we know this one's running, right? Environment is running right there. So that's the beauty of it, right? It doesn't matter what type of scenario you have, you're still going to report correctly. And that's the main thing. Yeah. And then also this scenario, let's look for another scenario. This will use a scenario where the organization is using templates, right? That's a very common and very actually advised scenario where they're using let's just say templates and say this is going to be a step template. So let's say deploy app.em, right? And let's say this is a steps template. So this is steps. And then we're doing some crazy, like, right, deploying web app or something like that, right? And let's say, for all intents and purposes, let's say we have another one. We have another scenario here. Damn, it's going to create so many pipeline runs. And let's say they do, instead of a PowerShell or anything, they're doing something like templates, deploy, app, YAML, right? Obviously, they're doing something like probably app name. They're probably saying environment name. Let's just assume that they're giving this thing the proper stuff. Let's assume that, because there could be scenarios where they're not providing it, but they need to have it. So they're going to figure out how to get it because they know what it is. So the same thing. We can put that in here. Down. That's it. It's going to create so many pipeline runs. Jesus. What just happened? Okay. Okay. Am I still rolling? I think I'm still rolling. All right, let me just restart. So many runs. All right, whatever. That's fine. Let's say this is a new pipeline. Existing. This is scenario 4, 3, 4. Using templates. All right, so we got 4 pipelines. Oh, 16s. Yeah, I thought there's no way I could have got that right this first time. Yeah, there you go. Ah, 16. Oops. Go. All right. So we have 4 scenarios. So these are 4 completely different types of pipelines structurally, right? And there's we can even do classic pipelines, right? Like we can say even in classic pipelines, use the classic editor, you can still do it. It'll suck a little bit, right? But you can still do, oh my gosh, I'm gonna make another one. Okay. What is a pipeline? Okay, let's do classic, real classic, right? Like I'm talking about like ancient work. Right. So let's say I add, this is our little right toast, right? This is building app. This is gonna be, this is a scenario scenario 5. This is building app 0, app 1. Right. So this is just building app 1, which let's do artifacts, publish build artifacts. Drop. Say app. Yeah, let's just call it drop. Yeah, there's a bunch of speculation on how to do that. Saving queue. This one does have options for name. Okay. Oh, that way. Yeah, there you go. Oh man, I'm gonna have to make a bunch of them, huh? All right. Let's just make 2 apps because it's gonna be too much. Let's make a new release pipeline. See, this is classic stuff right here. Add artifacts from building app one. And this is app one alias. Let's add another one from building app two alias. Let's call this dev. Let's make this dev, and this call is do. We really should move this to a task group, but that's okay. Deploy app one. We don't want to do that. Usually it's more like this is the deploy job and all that, right? And then you have like app one, and then you have like app two, something ridiculous like that, right? And then it's clone, test, clone it, prod, whatever. Right? So that's the scenario that you would have. And usually you would want to put this in task groups, right? Yeah, but that's okay. We'll do that in a minute. Okay. So now given that scenario, and by the way, this is, we name the release. This is scenario 5 release. Right? This is a classic, right? So now how do you annotate this? Right. So then we go to, so we would basically, first of all, you're going to be looking at your classifier and you'll be like, oh man, I don't want to do this. I don't want to have to. Oh, first of all, let me just fix this real quick. I think I forgot to put the publish. It's not going to publish anything really. I don't know if it will do. I don't know if it'll break or not. We'll see. All right. And let me make sure we got this working. All right, so let's go back to our pipeline. So whenever they're gonna be like, okay, we gotta annotate this. So the first thing they're gonna do, they look at this thing and they're like, oh, this is gonna be the building script. We really need to move this into a task group, right? Because what we need to do, let me just show you what you would first. So you would look for the annotate task, and you would call this add annotations start manual, and you would say this is well, you don't know. This is well, this is actually, let's not do this. Let's do it in two ways. Right. So if we go back into annotations, it shows us how to do this. And so if we go to validate, we say app one, and we want to do build, right? And then version, whatever, usage. There's one for classic using variables. So all we got to do is add these variables to the pipeline. and it will work just out of the box. So let's just do that. All right, so I'm gonna assume, I'm not gonna assume anything. So let's go to variables. Let's add enabled true. Activity type build. Version build number. Right. Actually, app is also just app1. Right. That's it. We're done. And yeah, we're done with that. Let me see what's going on over here. Let's see what apps names we have. We have app version 1. So let's just do the same. App version 1. All right. And we'll just do the same for the second one. This is why I don't like classic pipelines. It's very tedious. True. App version 2. Activity type. Build. Version. There we go. That's it. And now let's do the same for the release. The release is exactly the same thing, right? You have the enabled true. Activity type deploy. Deployment type node. Version. Forgot how this works. Damn it. What is the there we go. That's what I wanted. All right, so we have build number. Look at that. Perfect. And actually, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do version like that. All right, so here we're going to annotate like this. So we're going to annotate in the deployment phase. manual, and we're going to annotate the app is app v1, right? And the version is the alias of my artifact build number, like that. So, right, and then also we need to make sure that we annotate, we end the annotation. Like that. And we just gotta clone that. Clone that. There you go. And that's how you would annotate it. Right, dev. Oh, right, I forgot. For the environment, we can just do this. Environment dev for dev. Environment test for test. Environment prod for prod. Right? And I'm not going to do tests because I want to see it fail. Right? And so now let's go to pipeline. This is probably have a lot running right now. Because I have a 30-second wait on each one of these. But even with all that, this would still be valid. That's what I'm trying to get to. Right? With all of those five scenarios, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And fifth scenario is a release pipeline. With all of them, you still have the ability to report correctly based on your annotations. It's very, very useful. Now, obviously, the reporting piece, it's not finished, but you get the idea. Okay. All right. So now let's start cleaning up this dashboard because we need to make it better. All right, I am back. I am back. All right. So yeah, so that's where we are. Now we gotta make this dashboard better. But I guess that's the idea we're trying to accomplish. Eventually all these will run. I don't have parallel runs on, so it's gonna take a little bit of time. I don't know. I'm just wondering what else we can do. Like how we have now a way to consume reliable KPIs along with their dimensions. What else is left? I mean, obviously, no. What else is left? What are some things that we can do? I kind of want to open this up to the grander, larger community because I'm pretty much stumped on what to do. I can either make this dashboard just way better, but dashboards are not. I mean, it's one area. It's not really too useful. And it's useful, but we got to figure. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, let's just go ahead and start showing some of the code base. Oh, and I don't know what's going on with Azure DevOps still, but there's a possibility. We'll see. All right, Azure DevOps. All right, good. So yeah, there was a lot of talk about like Azure DevOps going away, but I don't think it's going away. I think it's going to supplement GitHub. Because I don't know about like environment. Let's see, watch this. GitHub environment deployments, things like that. Using environments for deployments. Oh crap, they do have environments. Yeah, deployment, run, environment production. Yep, never mind. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But in any case, there's a lot of enterprises that are using Azure DevOps and they're not going to move away from it anytime soon. So and then soon Azure DevOps will find a way to combine them. But in any case, it's really fun. Azure DevOps for me, it's just very, very fun to write in. Because GitHub custom CLI. Yeah, it just doesn't have this type of extensibility. Their extensibility piece, this is just really remarkable. All right, so let's do this. So let's go look at the code for UI. All right, so this is all broken up into three main pillars. The task itself that runs that actually consumes those annotations. That's here. A little nasty, but it's here. Let me get rid of this function here. And let me move all of this. To live. All right, because I'm literally trying to do cleanup while I'm doing this, which is not a good idea. All right, so here's the actual task. Mode is start. We get the metadata, parse it, and then we show errors or warnings depending on each one. We also set the variables, and then we save the annotation right there. And then we do some interesting things with parents, because you can actually have an annotation inside of annotation. And then we set the build properties, set the session. That's it. Stop. Then we'll save the session. It will actually add the append the initial information of the session of the annotation, but then it'll also add the state, the status, start time, end time, all of that, the result, all of that. If it's a clean, it will stop all of its parent and children annotations. So that's a little bit about how that would work. So that's a task. Now for the UI piece, this is where we have different parts. We have the project hub, organization hub, validation hub. We have the widgets and their configurations. Thank you. Thank you, baby. I love you. Best wife in the world. Oh. That was good. That's really good. All right, so now where do we end up? We end up in the widgets. So here's the widget. It's all React. So we have like a section here for So this is registering the widget. This is notifying when there's any changes. And then so this is register. This is for the and then this is the actual count. This is the no, this is not what's loading. This is when basically set up the widget data right there. And so we have, and then this is the load settings. All right, so those are the three main things. We have the loading of the settings, which grabs it from widget context. And this is just a function. But then we have this is the actual register function. Registers the contribution and then loads the settings. So it's basically it, right? Now, all right, so then we also have the runs. So the runs are being loaded when the component gets loaded in. And it does a bunch of stuff in the back end. So this is, so essentially this right here is where the money's at. Right, this right here, when we go in here, we have runs and we're now calculating the data that's going to be used for the graph. Okay. Okay. What's the first thing I want to do? I think the first thing I want to do is I want to separate this out into different things. Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be the Okay, let's start again. Okay. Almost done. Is it on the orange? Maybe it has dirt in it. All right, so let's see if this testing will do it. It did it. Patch has been updated. No, seriously? Yeah, it's in live. See? There we go. All right, so we're up to date. All right, so now let's go back and let's look at our dashboard. No. Yes. Basic grid. There we go. Cool. We got 3 everywhere. All right, 5. If those 2 are done, we got 2. Oh, we got one. We got releases going. Ah, right. So that's something else we need to do. Yeah, yeah. So one other thing for the release pipeline. So we showed that we can do a release pipeline, but there's one thing that you have to do to the release pipeline for it to work. And if I remember correctly, somewhere on the deployment job. There we go. There we go. Cool. All right, right, because we have these pipelines still running. All these pipelines still going. Okay, what? That's a problem. Oh, that's a very big problem. Oh, crap. That's a problem. This is making no sense. Once again. Dev from variables. Dev to from variables. 08 dev to from variables. That's what it is. That's what it is. I can't have the, yeah. All right, so we gotta fix this. So it looks like this task ID is not unique to the run. Yeah, it's going to be build ID. There we go. And I wanna go ahead and fix this. Let's fix the let's go ahead and increment to 4. Almost done, baby. Almost done. I'm sharing my screen right now. Talking. I'm just gonna finish this recording. That's it. Almost done. Okay, so we gotta update that package so that we can clear out the previous executions. Well, we could just clear out the executions. Yeah, whatever. I actually have a way to clear them, but for now it's okay. Okay. Let's update it. All right, so the reason why this is not running the plan is because this system.task instance ID is not unique to the run. It's unique to the individual structured task. That is the reason. So what I'm going to be doing is, see this right now is using ID of the task ID, but it is kind of correct. It's showing every single time that is annotating. Notice that we have app version 2 test code 1003, app version 2 test code 104, right? So the version is increasing, right? 05, 06, 07, right? So it's putting all of the runs in that one. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be appending or prefixing rather the run ID. So it'll be like that and like that. In retrospect, it really should also put the attempt as well. We could do that actually. Predefined variables, attempt system, like that. Let's do that. We're already deploying this thing, right? Doesn't mean we can't just try it again. All right, so it should have actually, it didn't inject it. Interesting. I wonder why it didn't inject it. Huh. Yeah, enabled is that. Interesting. It should have injected it, actually. Hmm. No. Oh, they added release pipeline ones. Ah, okay. So that's new. All right, so we gotta add. Wait, what? Pre-job? We're doing pre-job, right? So we're gonna do pre-job, pre-task. Right, this one. Release pipeline. There we go. Okay. So that's gonna need another deployment. But while we figure that out, let's go ahead and all right, let's run this again. All right, we're gonna run this one. Nope. Okay, fine. Run this one. Run this one. Run this one. Run this one. 8 more minutes, babe. Okay, and I'm pretty sure this is gonna work now. I want to see at least one. one of them go. As expected. Oh, that's interesting. So did it fail last time? It didn't fail last time because it didn't inject steps. All right. Or wait. Yeah. Now it does. All right. I think it's going to work. So now let's see. 4. So now we're going to have this prefix. And now this would be more correct. Prefix. Yeah. Yeah, that's correct. Yes. 1 second. Activity type build. Environment. Oh, that's why. What is it? Oh my God. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna end.